This is Electric Universe Geology Earth News. Today we're going to talk about the Grand Canyon right in here. The water actually runs down here and then basically to the west over to Las Vegas and then south again down through Bullhead City and Laughlin. It drains a really huge area. Everything up here runs through the Grand Canyon. We have all of this drainage. All of this drainage runs down here through the green, and all of this drainage running down here through the Gunnison. It meets up with the Colorado River over here at Grand Junction. So there's a huge amount of water that's trying to get to the sea, and this is the way it goes. Now, when I first started getting into EU, it was known that this was a thunderbolt scar. This was originally proposed by Amy Acheson, the late wife of Mel Acheson. She seemed to have the greatest interest in Earth geology at the time. And then other people noticed, gee, it looks like a fire-breathing dragon. It's got all these shapes that look like it's electrically produced. And I bought into it. And I went out and started looking around the deserts and the mountains. First, I noticed that mountains have rivers running through them quite often. And it's not a deep descent, it's sort of running almost horizontal through the mountain. And it started to strike me that these rivers prevented the canyons. They didn't erode them. It's as if there was material falling from the sky, accumulating where there wasn't a river, a drainage, washing away dust as it came down from the sky. And surrounding this, the dry areas grew and turned into a mountain. Sometimes there'd be a flood that would put a layer of slosh, of clay, mud onto these formations. And then it would dry out. The flood would recede very quickly because of a change in rotation of the earth, change in the movements, the axis, different changes. And then you'd get another layer of red hot dust, or dust that has dolomite or calcite, which is basically a recipe for concrete. Limestone and dolomite make cement. So there's a way of having this dust come down that it would set up very quickly. So I started looking at the Grand Canyon. And I noticed that, let me zoom in here real quick. On the south rim, it's 7,400 feet right around here. On the north rim, it's over 8,000 feet. So if there was an ocean, let's say, it wouldn't take the path of greatest resistance through a 7,400 foot mountain. It would probably go around. This is the Little Colorado. If there was an ocean behind this, the water could come up here, go down here, and go over here. The highest point is 6,400 feet. So it would flood through here much more easily than flooding through here. So it made me think that this river was always there. This was the low point. And this area here and here was sticking up above a flood. So when there was dust coming down, it would get coated. And then when there was a flood and it turned into an inland sea, you'd have a coating of mud and shale. And then it would recede and you get more coatings. This area, when it's an inland sea, might silt in. You might get mud down there. But as the flood recedes, at some point, it's going to become the flood's going to become the width of the canyon, flushing everything that's not rock to the Pacific Ocean, Sea of Cortez. Another interesting thing is that this area drains south. All these little drainages drain into the canyons, and they lead into these canyons, which are really large. It's as if the drainages enhanced the canyons. Down here on the south rim, everything drains to the south also. It doesn't drain into the canyon. This is probably responsible for the fact that you got the river here, you got a relatively small area of the canyon, and then over here it's huge, as if the drainages enhanced these areas. Now, after this took place, something similar to Zion Canyon seems to have come through here and heated the walls, bubbled the walls, and lithified the walls, and possibly enhanced the walls of the canyons, making them larger. But I don't think it's what's created the canyon in the first place. I think that was a process of drainage and then slosh and dust from above creating these relatively flat formations while the river prevented accumulation, just like all the other rivers and all the other mountains that have canyons. The drainage was there first. The river doesn't erode the canyon, it prevents the canyon. It's a whole different way of looking at everything. This has made me very unpopular because the fact that it's a thunderbolt scar was fairly accepted. And I'm kind of a party pooper. I'd be happy if it was a thunderbolt scar. But I believe that it's a little bit more complicated than that, with an electrical factor. But the river prevents the canyon. Thank you.